What kind of law demands the impossible? Does Halacha, the Jewish legal system, ask us to suffer in silence no matter the cost? Or does it speak with humanity and compassion? In this video, we'll explore one of the most profound questions in Judaism. Does Halacha care about the individual's well-being? Or is it rigid and unyielding by design? You might be surprised by the answer. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the heart of Torah law to explore a fascinating idea, that the same legal system that tells us how to pray, when to fast, and what to eat, also deeply cares about human dignity, emotional hardship, and the practical realities of life. We're going to walk through powerful sources from Talmudic discussions to modern Responsa that show how Chazal and later rabbis embedded sensitivity right into the structure of Jewish law. Let's begin with a famous phrase. Proverb says, "Derechha darche noam," her ways are ways of pleasantness. The Talmud takes this seriously, so seriously in fact that it uses this principle to reject halachic outcomes that would be considered cruel or jarring. For instance, the Gemara in Sukkah, 32b, insists that the etrog, the citron fruit used on Sukkot, must be something pleasant to hold. A thorny fruit wouldn't align with ways of pleasantness. In Yevamot, 2a, the rabbis rule that a widow who remarried before learning her husband had a brother doesn't become retroactively bound to levirate marriage. Why? Because that would violate the spirit of derek noam, fairness and peace. But here's the twist. The Talmud rarely uses this principle as a standalone halachic rule. It's more of a lens, a guiding spirit, which means compassion isn't a loophole, it's part of the system. Let's get specific. Jewish law is full of examples where the Halacha explicitly takes human dignity and hardship into account. Returning lost items. If you're an elderly sage and it's beneath your dignity to return a lost item on the street, you're exempt. Bava Metzia 30b, temple offerings. The Torah requires poor people to bring birds instead of livestock. Why? Because God doesn't want us chasing deer through forests with bows. Ramban on Vayikra 14, Ark of the Covenant. The Torah didn't command building it entirely from gold because carrying that would be too heavy. Tosafot on Teruma. Even broader, Yom Kippur is only one day because, as the Torah notes, our strength would fail with two. Tuma, ritual impurity, is suspended in public offerings to avoid paralyzing the community, and in many cases D'Rabbanan prohibitions, rabbinic-level laws, are lifted for emotional dignity, public embarrassment, or even mild discomfort. One of the most powerful halachic tools for compassion is Kavod HaBriyot, human dignity. The Talmud teaches, Berachot 19b, great is human dignity. It overrides a negative Torah commandment, and this isn't just theoretical. The Terumat Hadeshin writes that even social awkwardness, like needing to leave a group mid-speech to use the bathroom, can trigger leniency. The Rima rules that one may marry on Shabbat if the bride would otherwise be humiliated. Even mourning laws were adjusted to avoid public mockery or anti-Semitic ridicule. That's when we see the genius of Chazal. Rather than break the law, they refined it. They didn't ban eating meat just because there's always a chance the animal's lung is defective. They only required checking lungs, not every organ. They allowed selling shemetz through legal sale contracts, not by looking the other way. They created provisions like heder iska, Jewish legal financial partnerships, pruzbul, preventing debt cancellation in the Shemitah year, and community-based leniencies to balance idealism with survival. Even our Yehuda Hanasi considered canceling Shemitah to protect the poor. Halacha doesn't accommodate real life, it emerges from real life. As Rabbi Herman Wouk said, Halacha is not dead law. It is the oldest living legal system in the world precisely because it evolves with the human experience. That's why Chazal preserved minority opinions. Not to collect dust, but to be relied upon in times of need. That's why Tosafot and the Rima often justified local practices, even if they conflicted with formal law, because the people's needs matter. So, does Halacha care? The answer is a resounding yes. Not in a sentimental way, but in a structured, principled, and deeply Jewish way. Through laws, exceptions, and values that balance ideal with real. Judaism doesn't pretend that life is always easy, but it insists that Torah and life must walk together, with honesty, flexibility, and reverence. That's not just law, that's wisdom. What's your experience with Halacha's compassion, or its challenges? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe for more deep dives into Jewish law, history and thought. And as always, thanks for watching.